there are some people here who are just ready to make decisions to live a different lifestyle. So if that is you, then perhaps you can share that with other people as you learn that, as it becomes a settled fact for you. Bear in mind always that anything that we say about health has importance to us only in that it makes it so that we can think better, we can fellowship better with the Lord, we can do the work that we do in a better fashion so that others can be blessed. So glorifying God and blessing others becomes the objective of most of what we do. When we learn something, it is so that we can bless others or glorify God. When we eat our food, it is so that we can get the strength and have the length of life so that we can bless others and glorify God. And so with everything that we do and everything we are, it is whether we eat or drink or dress or drive a car or whatever we do, whatever we learn in the way of skills, all of these are for the purpose of blessing others and glorifying God. If it does not have that purpose, if something you're planning to buy does not have that purpose in mind, think about whether you should make that expenditure because something else might be better able to glorify God and bless others. And so health then has a different dimension for us altogether. It no longer simply means the avoidance of doctor bills and the discomfort of being sick. But now it means it has a spiritual dimension that it has not had before. And I'd like to talk with you about food and health. You will notice in your schedule that tomorrow I'll be talking with you about food and your character. And they are involved, one with the other. What you eat has to do with your development of character. And what you eat may, to some degree, determine your character and how you eat and when you eat. So all of these things take on a different dimension when we understand that there is more to our health than simply those selfish things that are perfectly all right for us to have, but they are spin-offs. They should not be objectives. So, food and health. Now, there are some things that are not foods that we tend to think are foods, such as the caffeinated drinks. And we have a little booklet called Poison with a capital C that deals with coffee, tea, colas, and chocolate. So if you use any of these beverages, before you continue to use them, you need to read this little book that my husband and I wrote a few years ago, 4 or 5, I guess. You need to read this little book and find out the dangers of using these drinks and why my husband and I recommend to our patients that they not take these. Then there are some foods that are good but may not be good for you, such as those foods that give you an allergy. Often people with an allergy to good foods will say, why did the Lord make some food that makes me break out in a rash or have a stomach ache or have some other problem with my health? And the fact is that the Lord did not make the food that made you break out. While He made all foods, He did not make that food to make you break out. You came by an immune system that would react to that food by some breach of health laws. It may not have been in you. It may have been in some of your ancestors where the law was broken and then you became susceptible to an allergy. And of course we have a number of other books that you might like to take a look at, and these are available at New Lifestyle Books. and I think they're open most of the time when you are out of session here. So let's begin by taking a look at foods and health and just what this means to you. Now, nobody has ever seen anybody quite like that, but the nutrients that we have on the plate, the foods that we have on the plate, become nutrients in our bodies. And we should begin to think about that whatever is on the plate is going to be a part of us. And so what do I want? Do I want hot dogs and hamburgers and Twinkies and various drinks of various kinds? Do I want that to be a part of my flesh? And always bear in mind that the brain is an organ of the body built up by what we eat. Do you want to be thinking with what you have on the plate? Now, so bear that in mind. That's an important part of our understanding. We have three major fuel nutrients: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. We'll start first with proteins. There are many sources of proteins. We're not limited to one source or other. Here we have listed some plant sources: nuts, legumes, and protein derivatives, but we also have animal proteins. There is a downside, however, to animal proteins, and we need to understand what this is. And to some degree, we need to study how much we need in the way of protein. And so how much do we need? And I might say, well, you need a minimum of 20 grams a day. But someone not trained in grams might say, well, how much is that? Is it a cupful? Is it a pint or a peck? And you don't know how much that is. Or if you do know how much a gram is about as much as will balance on your thumbnail. If you do know how much a gram is, how much does that represent in food? How many slices of bread do I need to eat? Or does bread even have protein in it? Well, yes, we can see that it does. Let's see, somehow I didn't get up here the grains, but grains are a very good source of protein. So how many grams of protein do I get in a slice of bread? So how many slices of bread do I need to eat in a day in order to get enough protein? Well, if you ate nothing else at all except bread, you could probably get all that you need from maybe 4 or 5 or 6 slices of bread. That would be all you would need for the absolute minimum of how much protein you would need in a day. But most of us eat a lot more than just bread. We eat many other things, and everything we eat has protein in it, unless it is purified by some process, like the making of starch. Starch has no protein in it. Margarine has no protein in it, do you see? So unless it is refined in some way, then we will not have a deficiency in protein. Now, the downside of protein, one of those downsides of animal protein is that of viruses, possibly multiple sclerosis, unknown viruses. We know that many of our animal foods have a reservoir in them of various types of viruses that can cause human disease. That must be always borne in mind when we take any kind of animal protein. And beef is not the only place that we could get some kind of virus that might make us have some serious problem. The mad cow disease is not the only viral disease that we can get from using animal proteins. There are many viruses that have their reservoir for human beings in food animals. Now, there are bacteria in animal foods as well. and some very famous outbreaks of disease have occurred because of certain animal products. Some houses of, some whole chains of fast foods have given people serious bacterial diseases. Some packing houses have given some extremely serious epidemics. Then there are diabetogenic factors. What does that word mean?
Diabetes.
Yeah, it causes. The genic part means forms or generates diabetes. There is a food known to be a diabetogenic food. You know what that is? It's milk and dairy products. Diabetogenic foods. Why? Because of the growth factors in these foods that make it so that we can certainly get diabetes if we're prone to getting it, if we are from the kind of family that can get diabetes. Now, here are some adverse eye factors mentioned. There are many adverse factors from animal proteins, and adverse eye factors are only one. Cataracts, glaucoma, and we don't know fully about macular degeneration, but there may be an eye factor with macular degeneration from as a part of the downside of animal protein. But to my mind, the viruses and this one, those two, the adverse kidney factors, I don't know, the diabetogenic factor is also a very serious one, but bacteria can be killed if you know how to do that. But the kidney failure and the liver failure, which are very serious problems with too much animal protein, these are really serious problems that we have as a downside of animal protein. Oops, sorry, I think I may have done something not good. So how do I get back up? I hit end. Oh, okay, let's try this one. I love computers, but big problem is if you hit the wrong key, you may get a problem. One more. All right, we've studied proteins. Now let's go to fats. We have proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, the three principal fuel nutrients that we have in foods. Fats, combined or free fats. A free fat is some kind of fat that is not associated with all of the various carbohydrates and proteins and mineral and vitamin complexes of a complete molecule of fat. Here is a complete fat globule. We'll just say for illustrative purposes that this is the fatty portion, and these portions are the protein and carbohydrate and vitamin and mineral complexes associated with fat as it occurs in nature. The combined fats, as it occurs here, these fats are better for us than the other. Now, good sources of fats. Let's just study some of these. And how many grams we need daily. How much do we need in the way of fats daily? Well, as much as is in the food that you're going to eat, if you balance everything else, if you balance the protein and the carbohydrate, you will get enough fat. So fat and protein are not our big problem. It is the carbohydrate. And we'll study that next. Carbohydrates are the principal form of food that we should eat rather than fats and protein. Now, what about therapeutic fats such as the fat-soluble vitamins. Do we need to take vitamin D and vitamin A and vitamin K? Do we need to take these, or will they be present in adequate quantities in the foods that we eat if we get a wide variety of natural foods? And of course we say that there will be enough. What about the taking of mineral oil, which some people take for constipation? Do they have enough? Will they get enough vitamins if they take mineral oil? And the answer to that question is probably they are in danger unless they're overeating of food. Mineral oil dissolves the fat-soluble vitamins and several other fat-soluble substances in food and take this out because mineral oil is not absorbed. Flaxseed has some very good fatty acids in it. Flaxseed oil is an anti-inflammatory. Flaxseed oil also has omega-3 fatty acids, which protect the heart and help you to not have heart disease. Okay, let's take a look at this having to do with fat. These people have two things. Number one, they have a genetic likelihood of getting this color serum. This is called hyperlipemic blood, meaning too much fat in the blood. And you can see that this kind of person would readily show you that they have fat in the blood. So one thing is they've got the genetic likelihood of developing fat in the blood, and the second thing is they are overeating on fats, both of those. We don't want that kind of blood. It gives us some serious problems. So let's take now some special carbohydrates. Special carbohydrates that are good for us, little smiley faces. These are inositol, hyaluronic acid, and sorbitol. And then we have some special carbohydrates that are not good for us, like this. And we don't even have some of these on the market anymore because they are being shot down. And they are not good for us. Now let's talk of the function of some carbohydrates. Food energy, vitamins and mineral tag-alongs with a carbohydrate. Protein sparing. So if you get plenty of carbohydrates, you will spare your proteins. And then for fat metabolism, if you want to lose weight, you must take a good source of carbohydrates because fat metabolism is involved with this kind of food. And it is an antitoxin. Who can tell me what an antitoxin is? Yes, it's against poison. How does it do that? Who can tell me that? How does a carbohydrate act as an antitoxin? It takes it onto itself and flushes it out of the system. It then does not allow it to be absorbed. Then a big question is, what kind of carbohydrate would do that? Do all? Will sugar do it? No. Will starch do it? No. What does? The fiber. Yeah, the fiber can attach it and take it out of the body.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer.
The answer was fiber. Fiber attaches it and takes it out of the body.
So you can't do without carbohydrates.
That's right. You can't do without carbohydrates. In fact, you can hardly get a kind of diet that would give you a fat and protein only diet. Would have to be very refined. All right? Let's just go on to some more. We have a lot to cover, so we want to skip what we can. Carbohydrate digestion in 1 hour, 1/5 of an inch of jejunum will absorb 1/5 of an ounce of glucose. Glucose is sugar, but who knows what the jejunum is? Well, it starts right here and goes around here. It's the first portion of the small bowel. That's the jejunum. And it is like an explosion in the small bowel when it's digesting. So we are breaking up nutrients and absorbing them at a rapid pace, because your whole meal is going to be completely digested and absorbed within 4 hours, unless it's an enormous meal or unless you eat again. Okay, some factors influencing digestion, which would make us know whether we can absorb this much from the jejunum or we're going to absorb less or more. The form of the carbohydrate: sugar, alcohol, and starch. Sugars are absorbed best, or possibly alcohols. Then the greater the mixture of nutrients, the less complete the digestion. So the more food you eat, the less complete the digestion. Oh, well, I want that because I'm overweight and I need to not absorb everything that I want to eat. Is that a good idea? No. Well, what about the complete digestion? Is it important for us to completely digest our food? Yes. Why? Otherwise, it putrefies. Now, we could say not just putrefies, but it ferments. Putrefying is a little bit more complete a bad process than fermentation. Fermentation is simply the incomplete breakdown of nutrients, so that instead of breaking them down into individual bricks of the way it is structured, it is broken down into chunks or groups of bricks. And these chunks of bricks are much more likely to be toxic than are the smaller units of the nutrients. So we want complete digestion. Whatever is left over is for us like smoke in burning wood, and it's going to irritate in some way. Then carbohydrate digestion is also influenced by stomach irritants. Some of those are vinegar, spices, black and red pepper. Now, these can intensify the absorption of nutrients. All of these irritants can. You may have read about the young man who was allergic to peanuts. So he took 2 aspirin for his headache, and then he ate some cake that happened to have some peanut butter in it. And he landed in the hospital and almost died because he took up the peanuts much more quickly, the peanut protein that would cause him to be allergic. He took this up much more quickly because the irritants had caused a flushing of the interior of the bowel and irritation. Any irritation will increase the blood supply to the surface, and that caused him to take up more of the nutrients, and that nearly killed him. Alcohol is also an irritant. It also increases the rate of peristalsis. Then poor chewing increases hydrochloric acid production in the stomach, as do high-protein foods, salty foods, alcohol, and drugs. Okay, now I want us to just run through some of the nutrients that are in foods. We'll start with sorbitol. What do you know about sorbitol? Where have you ever encountered that word before? Yes, it's a sweetener in certain foods, certain commercial foods. Is it important for us? Well, yes, it can be a good nutrient too. I want to ask you this. When was sorbitol put in foods, like in apples? When was it put in there? Was it about 10 years ago when we discovered it? Discovered it was in apples? No. Apples have always had it. Always had it. The Lord put it there at the time of creation. We're just now learning about it. But always, if we ate an apple a day, it would be likely to keep some doctors away. Then polyphenols in apples, grapes, and blueberries, that helps us to fight viruses. What are those? Apples, grapes, and blueberries. They are good for us to help us stay well. What about glycyrrhiza? Glycyrrhiza in licorice. Do you suppose that this glycyrrhiza do you suppose it's present anywhere else than in licorice? Yes, it's present in other places too. Licorice, with its glycyrrhiza, which is one of its principal treatment nutrients, the licorice will help to inhibit a streptococcus that grows in the mouth that encourages carious teeth or cavities in teeth. So, it's important to know if you're having a problem with your teeth. Vinylidithins from heated garlic, helpful for asthma. Alliin from garlic for blood clots. Fresh garlic was shown to block 70% of breast tumors in rats. Another important thing. Okay, let's take some more nutrients. Flavones, they protect us against free radical damage. Good for the heart. It has an anti-aging property. Good source is soybeans. Saponins, also present in soybeans, but also in citrus. Protects the liver, decongests the lungs. Look how many good important functions it has for us. Then an anti-adhesion factor present in cranberries and blueberries and any thick-skinned berry. How is that important to us? Anti-adhesion. It makes it so that germs will not stick to certain of our mucosal surfaces, such as in the nose, and the bladder, and the ureters, and in the urethra, and many other tubes of the body. Germs will not stick to those because if we eat these nutrients, if we eat these foods, the nutrient, the anti-adhesion factor, or the adhesion inhibitor, adhesion will let the bacterium stick. If we eat these foods, they won't stick. They can't stick. They must stick in order to penetrate. And if they can't stick, then they are made without power against us. Okay, some more nutrients. Hyaluronic acid. Notice what happens here. Do you have floaters in your eyes? If you do, if you have some permanent floaters in your eyes, it may be the reason for that is a deficiency in hyaluronic acid. Well, how would I get this important nutrient that protects my eyes? You can get it from fruits, all kinds of fruits, and nuts and olives and avocado. These can all protect your eyes. Glucosamine has a good protection for the skeletal system. We find that in fruits and grains and beans. Glucosamine. What is a commercial product, a natural product, that we can take for any kind of skeletal problem, like a problem with the joints or with the tendons? Anybody know? With arthritis? It's called, what's it?
I think they're using now.
There are several trade names. Glucosamine sulfate. Have you heard that? Glucosamine sulfate. That's the way it's usually sold today. Okay? Choline also keeps tendons firm, and we find that in beans and peas and grains. And notice that it can help us in appetite control. So if we have a problem with controlling the appetite, these substances, peas, beans, and grains, can help us to control the appetite when we have an inordinate appetite. And most of us have more appetite than we need for our body's use and for food, and too little appetite for water. So we need to push one and pull back on the other. Okay, let's take some more. Plant sterols. These have weak estrogenic effect, and they block the entry of estrogen, and that's important for us in prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, breast cancer. Did you know that before today? You may have. But we will study how there are receptors on cells for certain nutrients. There are receptors on breast cells, receptors on ovarian cells, receptors on prostate cells that allow certain hormones to enter the cell of the breast or prostate or ovary, and when it is brought into the cell, it stimulates the cell to have a cancer. If those receptors are blocked with a plant sterol, then one's own native hormones cannot get into that cell, and so they are protective. So if you want to not have breast cancer, not have ovarian cancer, and not have prostate cancer, what can you do? Well, you can eat the substances that have plant sterols in them. We have a list of those in our book, Nutrition for Vegetarians, and you can find those in these various foods. Here are some of those. And I sort of like this kind of cancer protection. All berries, I love all berries, all members of the cabbage family. Peanuts and olives and carrots. Look at all of those. Nice cancer treatment, isn't it? Nice cancer chemotherapy. These won't usually make you sick at the stomach. These won't usually make you lose your hair. They won't usually make you have a sore mouth. That's nice to know, isn't it? Okay, now the cruciferous vegetables, they are like broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cabbage, collards, kale, kohlrabi, all of these. Notice all of these and look what they do. They detoxify cancer-producing agents, flush them out of the body. They increase the production of protective enzymes. Wonderful things about cruciferous vegetables. And they also have not only sulforaphane, but also have the glucosinolates, which promote precancerous cells of the digestive system to commit suicide. Who made this suicide promoter? A loving Father made this. Put it in fruits and vegetables, but especially in the cruciferous forms of vegetables. He made this before there ever was sin and put it there so that if we did fall into sin, we would not be defenseless against disease. I'm so thankful for that. Then, indole-free carbinol helps. It helps a precursor to estrogen to break up the benign rather than cancer-producing form, and it's also good for viruses, for warts. Here's a wart, there's a wart, and somehow my slide got the computer confused it. But it's good for warts also. You just can put some of that on a wart. Okay, bidding cancer farewell. Let's just take a look at what happens after you eat one of these vegetables that we had listed there. First thing, a carcinogen. What is that now? What is a carcinogen? It's a something or other that causes you to have cancer, or that increases your likelihood of getting cancer. Okay, so here it is right there. See that? Looks ugly, doesn't it? Yeah. You get it, and it invades the cell. Okay? Then, along comes sulforaphane. There it is right there. And it stimulates a cell enzyme. And that cell enzyme attaches to the cancer-producing molecule and puts handcuffs on it and takes it out of your body. Essentially, that's what happens. Okay, so Every time I put one of these nutrients up, I hope you thank the Lord for its presence for us. Okay, butyric acid. It's present in large quantities in fiber. Now, when the fiber breaks down, then you can produce butyric acid. It's a nutrient that modifies the maturation state of cells. That's a big way to say that it increases our resistance to cancer, especially in the colon. So if you eat a lot of these substances with fiber, you will produce butyric acid. Now, if you're going to break down fiber, you are likely to produce intestinal gas. While a large quantity of intestinal gas may mean that you're overeating, which is not good for us, but a large quantity of intestinal gas or a small quantity may mean that you're producing this substance which will keep you from getting cancer of the colon. So a vegetarian diet is likely to cause gas for you. The reason being that butyric acid is forming. So it isn't all bad when we break down fiber and produce gas from it. Okay? Now another one. Quercetin. Oh, that's a big name. Let's everybody say that together. Quercetin. Again, somebody didn't say it. Quercetin. Where do we get it? Where does it say it? Yeah, we get it from onions. It's present in all of them, but especially high and red and yellow onions. The Vidalia onions have it. Not so much. Has some, but not so much. Lycopene. I like that one too. I want you all to say that one too. Lycopene. Now, where do we find that? In anything that's red. This is a chemistry lesson, isn't it? Well, no, it's a nutrition class, isn't it? Well, no, it's a cooking class. Do you see? We're studying about foods. Where do we get lycopene? Tomatoes, watermelon, apricots, anything that's red, any food that's red, you can know will be high in lycopene. It's also present to some degree in many other foods, fruits and vegetables. Okay? Antioxidants. Name some antioxidants. Honey. What does it have in it that makes it so that it's an antioxidant? And you can't eat much or it becomes an oxidant. If the Bible says that eat a little honey, it's good for you. But then it says don't eat too much honey. And then it tells us how much to eat. It says eat what is sufficient for thee, which is not very much. From science, we learn that if you eat a lot of it, it has the same effect that sugar does, but it has some enzymes and some minerals and a few other things that, like zinc and selenium and so forth, that are antioxidants. So I've named a couple. Yes?
Aren't they saying now that cooked tomatoes have more of that than the raw?
All right. Why is it that cooked tomatoes would have more lycopene than the raw? It's because it is concentrated. So you concentrate the food, like tomatoes, so it bubbles away, like the Italians do when they make us nice salsa, and it bubbles and bubbles and bubbles for some hours. There's more lycopene in it. Is that good for tomatoes?
If you eat a lot of raw tomatoes, that would be just.
If you ate a lot of raw tomatoes, yes, that'd be the same. But do we want to cook all the tomatoes that we have, that we're going to eat? Why? There's one big nutrient. The enzymes, that's one, but we may break down the enzymes in the digestive process, so it might not be the enzymes in foods are not always preserved. Some of them are, like bromelain, which we'll study in a minute. Bromelain, which is, where does it come from? From pineapple. That whole class is called bromeliads. If you've ever had one of these house plants called a bromeliad, it's a nice house plant, and it is a member of the pineapple family. And those enzymes are preserved. But most enzymes are simply broken down. But when we take the enzyme in, it stimulates the body to form its own enzymes. So enzymes, we do get enzymes from eating raw things, but it's indirectly. What are some other antioxidants? What's the major one that anybody will know if you say an antioxidant? Beta carotene and alpha carotene. Yeah, those are antioxidants. And what do they do? The oxidation process is a process of aging. It's the aging process. So antioxidants reduce or retard the aging process. Where do we get them? Well, the darker the vegetables, the better, so far as red or yellow or green are concerned. Okay, beta carotene, it's an antioxidant, it's anti-cancer, and we can get it from many places. Okay. Folic acid is a B vitamin, and folic acid is very important for us to keep the homocysteine level down. Ah, that's a big word. How many of you have ever heard of homocysteine? Anybody? Well, a few of you have. Homocysteine is now becoming a marker for heart disease. Cholesterol used to be our principal marker. Then we added the triglycerides, another marker for heart disease. Now we've got a third very important one. And people with low cholesterols and low triglycerides but high homocysteine get heart attacks. How do we keep the homocysteine low? One way is by having a high intake of folic acid. Folic acid is a B vitamin present in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Well, that's the vegetarian diet. So are vegetarians likely to have a high homocysteine? Well, they can if they get very low in B12, because vitamin B12 is also another nutrient that keeps the homocysteine down. So if you get a homocysteine level taken, if somebody, one of your doctors orders that for you, and you find that it's above 12 for sure, maybe even above 9. We aren't entirely certain where the ideal level is. We just know the lower the better, and probably down around 5 or 6 or 4 would be even better, but certainly below 12. We want it to be certainly below 12. And if it isn't, then you take B12 and folic acid, and that will bring the homocysteine level down. All right, let's go ahead with lutein. Nutrients that protect us against disease. Makes the immunity high, and it reduces macular degeneration. Okay, what is macular degeneration? It is that a spot in the retina of the eye called the macula, which is where we have sharp focus, that begins to degenerate. There are ways that we can be protected against it. One is do not take aspirin, do not smoke, do not use alcohol. Those are important ways. And we talked about eye factors when we spoke about the downside of animal protein. So we want to be very careful about what we eat so that we can protect the vision. These people get so they cannot focus, and so essentially they go blind because they cannot do a sharp focus. They get so they can't read and various other things. So we want to find out where can we get this lutein which is going to help us. And fortunately, somebody might say, well, I'm allergic to strawberries. Well, fine, that's all right. There are many others. You might be allergic to tomatoes and peppers, but there are many others. Aren't you grateful for a loving Heavenly Father who made it so that all the good nutrients aren't present in any one food? That we can take, if you're allergic to one food, you can take many others. There are many others, many other sources where it can be found. Salicylate. This is an up-down one. If you have attention deficit disorder, you're a child, or you have the hyperactivity syndrome, you may want to avoid salicylates, but for the rest of us, it can be good. It can be a laxative, and it can give us pain relief, and we can find it in some very good places, prunes and dates and so forth. Bromelain suppresses inflammation. It speeds up healing. It softens blood clots. All of those are good for us, aren't they? Proteolytic enzyme from pineapple. I always liked pineapple, and now I like it better. So I know it has some good things for us. Now here is my very favorite, resveratrol. Again, I want you to say that word, resveratrol. Everybody, resveratrol. Okay? Where do we find it? Well, it's in grapes. Now I'm going to tell you something that you didn't know before. Maybe you knew that grapes have this resveratrol, which is an anticoagulant, meaning that it reduces the likelihood that you will clot your blood inside your veins, which means that you're less likely to have a heart attack or a stroke. It also means a number of other things. It means that you're less likely to get a cancer, because a cancer is dependent on giving you a tiny clot in some blood vessels and taking over your blood vessel supply. So it helps you in many ways. And this is what I'm going to tell you that you didn't know before, and that is that, and this is a plug for you're living in the South, so wherever you live, you might want to move to the South after what I'm going to tell you, because the southern grape, called the muscadine, has 5 to 8 times more of the resveratrol in it than the other kinds of grapes. Now, how many of you have a grapevine at your house in your own orchard or vineyard? Oh, the Warners do, and several others do. Oh, that's great. Can you grow the muscadine where you are? If so, we'll be happy to give you some little sprouts that come up and let you get a start. Will it grow in Michigan? I am afraid it won't. It's just too tender to grow any farther north much than North Carolina. It will grow in North Carolina, but when you get farther than that, it doesn't grow so well. But you can grow other kinds of grapes. Wherever you live, there's a way that you can grow grapes. So do plant some grapes and get your own. So that is that why wine helps people? Well, yes, it is. In fact, that was where it was first recognized, was in wine. But I knew that was faulted research, because the Lord wouldn't make a nutrient that you could only get from wine. Yes.
Someone suffers with migraine headache. For cancer?
If a person has migraine headaches, does that lead to cancer? Is that your question? No. It might lead to a stroke. But a very rare person with migraines has an increased risk of strokes. And you had a question too, sir.
I just wanted to know if this was concentrated in the seed of a fruit.
Okay, is it concentrated in the seed? Probably it's in the skin. In the skin.
Yeah.
Now, the southerner does not usually eat the skin of the muscadine. And so what do? Well, you simply stew it down a little bit and then dehydrate it in your food dehydrator, which everybody should have, because everybody's got a garden and an orchard, and all the excess is dried or canned or frozen for winter use. So you take this pulp and you grind it up. Once it's dried, you grind it up and then you store it. And that then gives you what you can use during the winter, or you can take it. It has a nice taste, a little bit tart, a little bit sweet, and of course a little flavorful like a grape or like a raisin. So it's nice, and you get the seed as well. The seed is not the place where the resveratrol is concentrated, but that's all right. There's something else in the seed. What else is in the seed? Antioxidant. Yes, it's an antioxidant. What's its name? It's called pycnogenol. That's concentrated in the seed. So eat the seeds and the skins But the kind of grapes that I like the best are the seedless grapes. Well, you can have those too, but they are maybe not so good for you. There was another question. Is it only in grapes? What if you're intensely allergic to grapes? Did the Lord make it so that, too bad for you. You're just going to have to get a clot. A stroke. What would you think about a loving Father who would do such a thing? And so, what do you suppose? Is it only in grapes? Oh, no. It's in a lot of fruits and vegetables. So, do you see? That the Lord has been very protective of us. He wants us to be happy and healthy. And I'm sorry, there are several of you that still have questions, and I really must press on. I've got a few things more. Ellagic acid, that prevents gout. Where is it present? Well, it's especially in cherries. So if you get the gout, which is a form of arthritis, find a good source for cherries. Cherries and cherry juice. And anything that has cherries in it. There are cherry concentrates and some frozen cherries and things like that. It's also anti-cancer. Then vitamin C, one of the best places for vitamin C is kiwis. We didn't know that kiwi vines. We thought kiwis grew on trees until we bought a little vine and we found out that they will grow here in the South. So this year we have we had a good little harvest of the smooth-skinned kiwis, which are not too much bigger than grapes. It takes you a long time to eat them because the skins, although they are smooth, they are a little bit puckery and have some alum in it, so we don't eat the seeds. We don't eat the skins. But of all these kinds of nutrients that we've been talking about, kiwis probably are the single best source of more of them than other fruits. Has a higher rating. Can you eat the peelings? The skin, you can, but I don't know, it gives me the stomachache to eat the skin, so I think that probably it's best not to. They're just astringent. You can feel it in the mouth that they are astringent. They also do the same thing that pineapple does, makes the mouth a little bit tender after you've eaten a number of them raw. Okay, coumarins. Those of you who are nurses and doctors, what does that sound like, the word coumarin? Yeah, it's an anticoagulant, isn't it? Well, of course, that's exactly what it does. Prevents excessive clotting. And where would we be able to find coumarins to help us with... And notice that there several times we have mentioned foods that are especially good to keep you from clotting your blood inside your blood vessels, which would help you not to have strokes, not to have heart attacks, and not to develop cancers. We can get this, probably one of the best sources that people who are all into health foods would be red clover. That's a good place. But we can also get it from almost any kind of berry. Limonoids, as you would suspect, is high in lemons, but it's also high in any kind of citrus. Okay, let's go to the next one, and that is transit time. The transit time is the length of time that it takes for food to process through the intestinal tract. And here we have a sesame seed marker right here, and here a charcoal marker. You may use either one of those to check your own transit time, and you should do this. You should check your own transit time because you may be having a bowel movement every day. People often tell me, I have no problem with transit time. I have a bowel movement every day. Well, that you have a bowel movement, the food that you ate that gave you the residue for the bowel movement of today may have been eaten 5 days ago, but also in the colon at the same time 4 days ago, 3 days ago, 2 days ago, and yesterday at the same time. And so we need to find out how long is it in my case. And you do that simply by swallowing a marker. Swallow the sesame seed whole. Do not take them ground up because you won't be able to see them. Then what you do is you simply see them in the stool. From the time you eat it until the time that you see from the time you swallow it until you see it in the stool should be no longer than about 30 hours. Now, what is the American transit time? What is the average American transit time? The ideal would be under 30 hours. The average American, do you know how long? A little bit more than 90 hours. And so you may fall in that group. You need to find out whether you are, and if so, what you can do about it. Now, one last thing, and that is regularity in meal times. You have better control of your appetite. I don't know about you, but I like to face my appetite fewer times a day. Maybe you can nibble some things and just nibble one peanut. That doesn't work for me. I take more than one if I'm going to nibble. I don't recommend nibbling. I recommend that you never eat between meals. And there are some excellent health reasons for that. Also, if you take your meals on time and don't eat between meals, you have a greater sensitivity to insulin. And what does that mean for you? Well, we'll be touching that in several ways, and several people will be mentioning that during this week. To have a good sensitivity to insulin is essential for your best of health. You must have your cells must be sitting right there with the mouth open. In fact, 40,000 mouths open to receive insulin. Insulin attaches to sugar and then fits into the little mouth for insulin. It will only take insulin. So it takes the little insulin and pulls it into the cell along with the sugar. And the blood sugar goes down and the nutrient effect in the cell goes up. For the diabetic, the type 2 diabetic, they have maybe 2,000 or 3,000 instead of 40,000 mouths. That's going to mean that they cannot take up much insulin. So the blood sugar rises. Pancreas looks up at this blood sugar and says, oh, blood sugar is high. We need some more insulin. And so it pumps out some more insulin. And then the insulin level rises, and that does some not very good things to you. Increases your risk for a number of diseases. In fact, the disease is called Syndrome X. And doubtless we'll be talking about that some more later. So that will also help you. Regularity in meal times will help you to have less high blood sugar swings. And less high blood sugar swings means that your disposition will be more regular and more nice. Don't you wish everybody's disposition was good? So if you live with somebody whose disposition goes to pot every once in a while, maybe you should tell them, don't eat between meals anymore, because it gives you this problem with your disposition. Okay. Now, if you have questions, would you please write those down now? We'll have time for those later. We didn't have time today, and you will find also that I didn't quite cover everything that you have as notes in your notebook, but we'll cover as much as we can during this week, and we'll hope that the Lord will bless you by what we do cover.
You have been listening to another special American Christian Ministries presentation. This is a digital recording for optimum sound quality. International copyright, all rights reserved. To order a copy of this or other presentations, or for a free catalog, please call toll-free 800-233-4450. International calls dial 717-652-7000. You may also order from our secure website at www.americanchristianministry.org. There you will discover the largest selection of authentic Adventist preaching available. You can trust ACN. There's no compromise here. If American Christian Ministries has been a blessing for you, why not take a moment just now and send us a note or an email with your testimony? We'll share it with the speakers and volunteer workers to encourage them. Your prayers and continued financial support are very important to ensure the continuation of this ministry as we help prepare America and the world to meet Jesus Christ. He is coming soon.